Hi, I'm Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be the process of moving on after she cheats. I've got an email. This is from a guy. He has been married now for 17 years. He's got 4 kids with his wife. And he said he's been following me for about 3 to 4 years. He said he's read 3% Man 10, 12 times or so. And he first found me because he said for most of his marriage, his wife was sweet, feminine, submissive, and that most of the marriage, he was a needy, insecure beta male who basically couldn't make a decision. And eventually it forced her to become more masculine. She started to resent him. And it got to the point where, as she was pulling away, she wanted to divorce him and wanted to leave him. But her family talked her into staying with him. And then she had an affair with another guy for about a year, and he just became a total needy pleaser, and she had zero respect for him. But since he found my work, he's working out, he's turned his life around. Now his wife is pursuing him, and he sees things for as they are. And so now, after all of this, it almost seems like deep down he kind of knows he's probably going to leave her because he's grown beyond her and now he sees her as she is, especially after he's taken his power back. And so it's easy as somebody outside of this situation, they can go, oh yeah, she belongs to the streets, dump her. But they got 17 years, they've been married, they got 4 kids together. It's not so easy to say that. So the question is, like, if you were this guy, what would you do if you were him? Because it's obviously a dilemma. It's easy, like I said, it's easy to say leave and get a divorce, but anybody that's been through divorce, especially if you have kids, and if you're in one of those left-leaning states where the divorce laws are totally slanted against the men, it's not a lot of fun. There's lots of guys in the internet that talk about what a difficult experience it is. I mean, we just look at the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp thing. I mean, just look at that particular situation where she ruined the guy's reputation, and then come to find out once the world basically watched the trial, they were like, well, this Amber Heard person she's not a good person at all. She lives in an alternate reality. We did a video that we published this past week called Long Live Captain Jack Sparrow, where we went through several of the things that happened in the video, some of the testimony, and talked about the different things that happened. Maybe you guys go check that out. So let's go through his email. He says, hey, Coach, I just wanted to share a success story and get your take on it. I've been following your work for about 3 to 4 years and have read 3% Man 10 to 12 times, meaning he said he's read and listened to it about 10 to 12 times, and he's read Mastering Yourself once. I've been married for 17 years and have 4 kids. For the majority of my marriage, my wife was a loving, sweet, feminine girl, and I was an insecure, indecisive, needy beta. This forced her to get into her masculine so that someone in our house could make a damn decision. Whew. That sounds like a lot of fun. In 2017, she was finally ready to divorce me. Having had no real masculine presence in my childhood, all I could think of doing was becoming a total pleaser and waiting on her hand and foot. This, of course, was repulsive, and she stayed with me at the request of her parents, but had an affair for a year. So she had obviously checked out and left. I mean, she was trying to divorce you, and so she maintained the image of a marriage to keep her family happy, but in reality, she went and had a relationship with another guy. She cheated on you. And on top of that, you were a pleaser and you facilitated it. The more beta you acted, the more it justified her decision to want to divorce you and be with another guy. I mean, the reality is if you act unattractive to a woman, she's going to get turned off. Doesn't matter how much she loves you. If you ruin the sexual polarity in a relationship because you're acting like a girl, an insecure little girl or a needy beta male, you're going to turn every single woman off, no matter how hot they think you are. He says, when she finally told me, it crushed me, but it did lead me to your work, so it wasn't all bad. So I guess he didn't know about the affair. At first, I read 3% Man once and tried to cherry pick videos as we tried to make it work. But I kept getting, this is why I say read it 10 to 15 times. Here's exactly what happens. But I kept getting insecure, paranoid, and clingy, and kept landing on my face. If I ever encounter anyone who wants to stay with a cheating partner, my advice now would be to separate, figure yourself out first, then reassess. The key is to get to a place where you learn what's in 3% man and you act like a masculine man consistently. You take care of you. As Jim Rohn said, I'll take care of me for you, and you take care of you for me. And that's what you should do. Because once you become your masculine, attractive self, any issues of attraction or lack of respect will change and resolve themselves. But at the end of the day, he's still married to a cheating spouse, which involves obviously a lot of lying and a lot of deception. It went on for a year, and he had absolutely no clue what was going on. About a year ago, I had enough and dedicated myself to being a good student. So he followed me for the better part of 3 years, read the book once, and just kept cherry picking until eventually he hit rock bottom and realized he needed to change. I started listening to 3% Man to and from work, watching videos religiously, and reading with the Audible book playing on 2-speed, which is a phenomenal technique that I have also applied to other books. Yeah, because the audiobook, I think is like 7.5 hours. So if you take a physical copy or a digital copy or like the Kindle, and you have the Audible book, and you have a physical copy to follow along in, what you should do is put it on 2-speed, and you can get through the book in like 3.5 hours. But you got to have the book there, and you got to be looking at the words while they're being read to you, not doing something else. Because this is the best way to absorb the information as quickly as possible and be efficient. Again, if you can get through the book in 3.5 hours on 2-speed, you can get your 10 to 15 reads literally in a matter of weeks if you dedicate yourself to that. Serious students will do it. The lazy guys will do what this dude did for 3 years, which is read it once and half-ass it and try to cherry pick here and there. And you might get some attainable success, but you won't get sustainable. He says, I started focusing on me and my purpose. I stopped pursuing and begging her for attention and started working out consistently. So we started doing the things that makes a man attractive in the first place. Since that time, I earned a promotion at work and in my dream job. I changed my military job in the reserves to a job that I am passionate about. I competed in 2 Spartan races, and I've never been happier with my accomplishments or myself. We agreed to stay in the same house and bed for the rest of this year as she finishes nursing school because she's been a stay-at-home wife for so long that she really doesn't have anywhere to go. We both agreed on a boundary that as long as we are technically married, we are working on ourselves and not pursuing others. Well, the reality is you got to look at her actions. Will she honor that or not? He says, I'm using this time to heal and grow, and I also realize that if I get divorced, it needs to be with love and kindness. Yeah, it's not going to be helpful to the kids if you guys are just brutalizing each other in the court system, which happens a lot of times, especially with women that are hurt and upset or pissed off at the men for being weak. Because then they become really vindictive. Even though she betrayed me, she is still the mother of my kids, and I chose not to have any animosity towards her. It wouldn't help anyways. He says, it hurt like hell in the moment, but it truly woke me up to how pathetic I was and led me on a journey to become a masculine example for myself and my kids. It's weird to say now, but if going through that was the only way to get to who I am now, I would not hesitate to choose that path in order to get here. The funny thing is, when I stopped pursuing her, it let all the tension go. She has since asked to hang out, and I have followed your principles of getting an ex back. I had to modify them because we live together and have kids, but I feel I executed the main principle of not pursuing someone who hasn't shown they want you, and when getting an ex back, do things on your terms. Yeah, you never try to keep somebody in your life who's not making the effort to keep you and theirs. And by you working on you and developing yourself, developing your physique, getting reconnected to your hobbies, your interests, your friends, doing things because they make you happy, you're making yourself maximally attractive to all women, including your potentially ex-wife to be. We've been hanging out, having fun, and hooking up, but I see it as a friends with benefits situation more than building a marriage. As a matter of fact, stepping back and seeing who she is now, I don't know that I would want to build with her again. And that's the important thing to keep in mind. Because a guy that reads my book and applies it and sees how much better his life gets, and quite frankly, the better quality of women he's able to attract, his standards go up. And when your standards go up, it's a lot easier to move on, especially when you have choices. Because most guys in his situation that never come across a book like mine or don't have the balls to look inward and try to fix things, they'll just keep putting up with it. They'll put up with a cheating spouse, and it'll just happen over and over and over again. They'll continue making excuses, and they won't do anything to change their behavior. And eventually, the cheating spouse will leave them for somebody else. I love her, and I'm attracted to her, but she has become very selfish and doesn't quite line up with the things I have listed for in my dream woman. I'd say more than likely she's probably always been this way, but you were too fucking soft and weak to notice, because she has had the power since the beginning. You're just now, because you've taken your power back, getting to see what you're really dealing with. I am using the rest of this time to assess if I want to be with her long term, since I realize that I am the catch. Well, the reality is your sexual market value tends to increase. Men typically peak in their 30s to early 40s, and women tend to peak in their 20s. That's just the harsh reality. Men all over the world, young and old guys, like the hot younger women. That's the bottom line. Men are visual creatures. I know that pisses a lot of women off, especially older women. They get really upset about that. But that's life. I mean, at the end of the day, time comes for us all anyways. Father time is undefeated. It's just that it happens to women sooner. But you got to understand, it's like women are typically going to only have kids when they're younger anyways. And that's just the harsh reality. Nobody gets out alive. Everybody dies. The question is, how are you going to spend your life? Are you going to get up every day and do things that you want to do and that you love and do them with people that you love being around and enjoy being around? Or are you going to be miserable and just try to get through it? Because at the end of the day, it ends in dust and disarray, no matter what you do. Everybody you love, everything you build, eventually all of it's going to turn to dust. So you might as well find a way to enjoy it. For now, it works, but I want someone I fully trust. Yeah, love can't exist where there is no trust. I mean, think about it. She maintained an affair for 12 months, a whole entire year, and you had no idea what was going on. Thinking about the amount of lying and deviousness and deception that she maintained. But you were probably pretty gullible and had no clue what was going on anyway, so you didn't see any of the signs. He says, but I want someone I fully trust and someone that sees me as her rock. Through our past actions, this may not be possible again between us, but I can still show up the way I chose in every single moment and enjoy the positives and peace that I have found in my current situation. I am also proud to say that I am much more outgoing in public and get smiles back as I smile at attractive women that I see in public, and even spark conversations that I politely end with, quote, "It was nice talking to you," end quote. That I know in the future could turn into setting a date on the spot or at least getting a number once I am actually available. So Elvis has left the building, but he hasn't physically left the building. Elvis has left mentally and spiritually, and he's developing himself. He's getting to the point, he's in a non-hungry state right now. It's the best way to practice. And so when he gets ready, then he can easily end his marriage, end it with love, and move on and not miss a beat. I am curious if you think I should do anything differently or continue with how I am now, seeing and approaching the situation. Dude, the only thing that matters, are you happy? Are you enjoying the way things are? Because that's all that really matters. My opinion is irrelevant. And all the people in the comments, quite frankly, they're going to comment on this. There's going to be some haters and people talking shit, but it's like, so what? You got to learn to tune those people out. You got to live for you at the end of the day. You have to live with yourself. You're the one that has to look in the mirror and see yourself every day. And so other people's opinion of you, really, it's none of your business. If what you're doing, the way you're living is working for you and you're moving at your own pace, don't compare your success or your progress to anybody else. So again, as long as you're happy, that's all that really matters. And so when you're ready to leave and you're ready to say, hey, it's been great, but I've decided I want a divorce and I want to move on, and tell her to move out. She's the one that cheated after all. I am forever grateful for what you do, and I've recommended your book to countless friends and even in a men's group that I join. Your impact is not only being felt in my life, but also in the lives of my children, and will be a positive shift in generations to come. Well, I appreciate that. If you ever decide to run for president, who'd want that fucking job? Can you imagine? I mean, look at the amount of hate that look at all the presidents in our lifetimes. It's like, it's just constant savagement in the media. It never stops. Who would want to subject themselves to that? I think it's better that older people run for president anyways, because by the time you get older, you really don't give a fuck anymore. You don't care, and it's like this stuff doesn't bother you. And a positive shift in generations to come. If you ever decide to run for president in order to selflessly heal the pain that has been caused by our current clown in chief, well, he's just part of the system. And yeah, Joe Biden fucking sucks ass. He's got dementia. He's incompetent. He's a liar. I mean, at the end of the day, there's a lot of video compilations floating around Twitter where he talked about exactly what he's going to cancel the pipeline, no new leases on government land, he's going to stop all oil exploration. These are all the goals, the stated goals of the World Economic Forum. And so that's who he really works for. He doesn't work for us. I mean, he told us what he was going to do, and now gas prices have doubled, and people are like, oh, gee, it's the oil companies. Oh, it was the Republicans did it. I was like, no, Joe Biden's policies did it. He said he was going to do that. And then he did it. And even Obama is on video. He says, if we implemented my energy plan, energy rates would skyrocket. It's on video. You can see it. So he did that. Anybody that says it's not his fault is delusional, but that's okay. He says, you have my vote. Like I said, at this point in my life, I don't see myself ever running for president because, again, who would want that fucking job? It sucks, but who knows? Maybe 20, 30 years from now, maybe I will. Maybe I won't, but I appreciate your support. I appreciate your vote. So if you got a question or a challenge and you'd like to get my help, go to understandingrelationships.com, click the products tab at the top of your screen, and book a coaching session with yours truly. Until next time, I will talk to you soon.